Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Sports Break, the podcast. I am super excited to be joined today by film director all the way from Germany, Lasse Buchhop. Welcome so much to the show.
Thanks for being here.
I'm so excited to chat. I got connected with you about a short film that you have created with a world champion, IMMAF, Julia Dorny. I would love to hear just a little bit about that project to get things going, and then we can get a little bit more into you. But how did you come across, getting into, I think the film's called You Are Strong. Tell us a little bit about the film, if you don't mind.
Sure. It actually started with the DOP, the director of photography, that I used to do most of my work with, or that I'm still doing most of my work with. And he met the Julia, and she was like, "Yeah, I'm having like a podcast. It's called it's a female empowerment podcast called Women Hit Harder." And she was like, "Maybe we can, like, the whole empowerment thing I'll do within the within the MMA, or generally within the person she is. She's a bit of like a VIP person. She hosts TV shows and all that. And she was like, I want to make a film about myself to show that engagement that I have." And my cinematographer was like, "That is amazing. I know just the right person to write your script for that." And so we came together. And then it took at least a year till we found the spot, till we had raised some money and figured out who to help. Because as it often is with those social engagement ideas, you have a certain idea on how you want the project to be and to look like, and it's super hard to find the fundings. And you have to do a lot of compromises on the way. And after a year later, then finally, but we stuck to the first concept. So we had that, and we're like, okay, this is how we do it. Now let's just figure out how to get there.
Awesome. Yeah, well, and we'll put the link for that in the show notes. I believe you can check it out. People are able to watch it online and see the work that you guys did?
Absolutely. Like, we sent it to a couple of festivals, or we're going to do so. But no, it was free from the very first moment. It was just a matter of how to spread it as wide as we could. So when the film was done, it took us another 5 to 6 months to finally release. Because we're like, okay, like if I put it on my website and Julia puts it on hers, it will, especially over her, will have a bit of a width, a bit of a bandwidth, but maybe not enough. Let's try to get a partner in. And after a lot of talks and companies, and then again, while we're shooting, she wasn't wearing like the dress from one sponsor, or the special gloves from something. So it was pretty hard to find someone who would do something without the product in it. And so finally we thought, why not having the sports itself as the product and the engagement? And that's how we came up with the idea of contacting the IMMAF. And they were actually very happy to join in and help us spread the whole thing.
That's awesome. Very cool. Well, yeah, everyone go click on the link and check that out. I'm curious too, how did you get into directing? Has it been a passion since you were a kid or later in life?
No, it's always been there. I remember us being like 17, 16, first camera, and, a gang of 5 people who called ourselves Trash Pictures. And that's basically what we did, making fun with trash cans. That was that kind of things. But it was always me coming up with like ideas and more or less being the director. We all did everything back then. So how it usually started. And when I wanted to go to film school and applied for it with a very shitty film and also quite mediocre reasoning, and they absolutely within the right denied me. I did an internship at a production house, an advertisement production house back then. And when that was over, one of the production managers asked me if I want to be like his driver on productions for other companies, and that'd be 200 euros a day. And I was like, yeah, okay, fuck university. That's what I'm going to do now. And I'll do my own way. And meanwhile, I did like my couple of films every year, try to, keep it going. The films went from very bad to just bad to acceptable. And, over the years, I learned a lot. And it brought me from being a runner to being a set manager, a little bit of electrician here, a little bit of art department there, you know, tried everything out and ended up being an assistant director for 6 years. And that was great times. I learned a lot from all the directors and directresses I've assisted in that time. But after a while, it's amazing because I love the communication. I love working with the crew. I love being like, you know, one of the wheels in the whole thing to make it work. And also my mood is the mood of the set as an assistant director. You know, if I'm cheerful, the people are cheerful. So I can make, you know, at the very end, all we do is films. And it's an amazing thing. And it's amazing way of bringing messages across. But it is just films. We're not operating on an open heart. We're not, you know, we're like, why not having a good day doing it? And I felt myself so often fighting against people who took themselves way too serious. And I was trying to, you know, equal out the mood and doing things that I would do very different, creative wise and also communication wise towards the people. And that was the moment I realized, you know, I don't want to be that. I need to, you know, properly direct myself, not just every now and then, but actually completely do it. So I have more fun in what I do. And I can, at the end, do things like this film we did, and maybe, you know, work on contents that actually change something, even on a small scale.
That's incredible. I love that so much. I mean, I think that, yeah, it shows your passion for it, and the mental aspect that I don't know that I was even aware of, that, yeah, on a film set, how the director is feeling and communicating is how the whole thing goes. So kudos to you for really, yeah, having great perspective there, it sounds like, and wanting to create a space that's safe and fun and friendly for those that you're working with. That's amazing. And it does sound, it's really interesting. So yeah, on this podcast, trying to relate things to sports, it's cool to, you know the assistant director and like you working your way up, internship or whatever. It's kind of like you have a coach or different coaches as you go through films. Or projects, what was maybe some of the best advice you were given from a director that you worked under? And now as a director, what do you hope to pass along to your assistant directors?
Oh, um, I can't really recall a certain sentence because I've worked for so many different directors. I wasn't like the assistant of one.
Right.
So I took a little bit of here and there, the good as the bad.
Mm.
But at the very end, I think what I've learned is that, like, if you're in a certain situation, or how to work under stress, and of course a film set is stress. You have a limited amount of time. You have, especially if you work for a client, you have certain surroundings and, you know, certain expectations of the clients that need to fit. And sometimes things don't work out as they should. And of course there's stress. But I've met really amazing directors and directors who stay calm and who also took responsibility for that.
Mm.
And that's what I try to uphold as much as I can, because at the very end, if something's off, then my planning was bad, or if someone was misunderstood, then maybe my communication can be improved. And I think if this is the way, and I've seen people working like that, and at the very end, it makes the set calmer and it makes the film better, because often people in front of camera are, even, you know, whether they're like super diva, all like starlets, or whether they're absolutely unexperienced like workers from a company that you have to portray, they're all sensitive to the mood. And if you can maintain a warm surrounding for the people, it'll be visible at the very end.
Yeah, very powerful stuff. Yeah, for people to feel like they can do their best, it's important that they feel safe and yeah, like a welcoming presence versus this is how it's done. This is, you know, kind of more rigid. So that's awesome. That's really exciting to hear how kind of the brain of a director, or, you know, the someone who's never been on a film set or a project set, you know, really what it's like. So that's really cool. Oh,
And
go
also,
ahead.
if I might add to that, I think most of the things I've learned, I mean, of course, creative wise, on how to do the craft. That's something you see at other directors. But I think what I've learned from assistant directors that I've assisted before I was assistant director myself. And this is this weird mix of being absolute in charge and knowing exactly what is going to happen, and being a bit of a clown for everyone. And this is, it's a very thin line. And I know I sometimes maybe go a bit too much to the clownish side, and then the structure gets lost, and I might find and get it all back. But this is what it has to be at the very end, being like chill and laid back, but being very precise at the same thing. And this is what is still the hardest for me. I think I'm a bit too hey, everyone's feeling well today, and then like, oops, we're 2 hours behind. Oh, that's not good. And so I'm still learning in this, but I think that's the line to hit.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Who are some of the directors that you love, that you like really look up to, really appreciate their work?
Um, I mean, in terms of like big directors, like the
Sure.
ones that are more or less known, I'm amazed by Paolo Sorrentino.
Okay.
And it's an Italian director. He did like Youth and La Grande Bellezza. And it's what I love about his directing is that you have the feeling of being very close to the people's emotions, and he has all those close-ups, and you're very much in within their thinking and their mind. Still, he has very wide shots that look like a stage, and he even puts the people like on a stage. So he does the somehow does a combination of having it very staged and very intimate at the same time. And that's something I wouldn't know how to do that, but he somehow does it.
Very cool.
The
Yeah.
first one to think of.
Awesome. Very cool. Well, and back to this project with the IMMAF, were you drawn to it because of sport in general? Like, have you played sports as a kid? Are you a fan of sports?
Yeah, I mean, always been a bit lazy lately, though. To be fair, getting older, it's horrible. Yeah, but I've played soccer for almost 16 years, and been skateboarding for another 15, and so on and so on. I'm going into partner acrobatics a lot at the moment.
Cool.
So sport has always been a part of my life, though, as I said, not as much as I wanted to at the moment. Um, and yeah, but I wasn't really in the project for the sports itself, because I've done other films with sports content before. It was more the personality of her. I was kind of fascinated by her as a person. That's why, like, when my cinematographer was like, "Yeah, you got to meet up with her, and if you like her, maybe you can write something nice." And I really liked the energy. She's there at the moment. I'm always caught up with people like that. I have also some couple of friendships that annoy the hell out of me sometimes, but I'm just drawn to that because they have an. I sometimes feel I'm a very organized mind for for being a freelancer, and waking up at 11 o'clock in the morning. But besides that, I feel like sometimes very structured, and
Mm.
also very sometimes caught up in structures and daily life and everything. And when I meet someone who has this kind of structure as well, because she has to, she's a world champion, but she is also very much in the moment.
Mm.
So when we have a call and I said, could you ask this person for this and that, she would text him while we call, because this is now and it has to be done now. So this is the way she thinks and she works. And I was fascinated by the amount of energy she put into like every moment of her life, whatever she was doing. And the ideas and this energy that she like brings into something good, into all her like female empowerment work. And then I had done another film just shortly before about pregnancy tests. That was also kind of, I wouldn't even just say female empowerment, I would say people empowerment to that, because pregnancy tests are like for both genders an important thing. And of course, it's mostly seen as a female thing, but at the end, it's for the both. So I was like into putting the work that I'm not getting paid for into more of a social direction. And when I heard of her engagement, I was like, yeah, that's the things I want to portray, and that's the person I want to portray.
Yeah, well, and it's so interesting too. There is so much in the women's side of sports that's tied to social engagement and social activism. We were speaking a little bit before we hit record, but you just seen the German soccer like national team for women that's like skyrocketing. You know, I would love to hear a bit about, yeah, as you've grown up and gotten older, how the popularity of sport has risen, because there is this movement of invest in women, show women, you know, broadcast women. How have you seen sport in Germany, you know, change in that way?
I mean, sports has always been there, but there were these typical men kind of sports, like yeah, like soccer was. You had sports like tennis, for example, which was always both genders,
Sure.
and it was. I don't really know about the pay, but I've just in my perception, it was more or less equal, because like the news coverage was equal, and the tournaments were equal. And then you have something like soccer, where you win two leagues and you're almost like up in the highest league, because there's so little people doing this when I grew up. Now, 20 years later, or 25 years later, things have changed a lot. And it's not just me. I mean, okay, we lost the finals, but the way the female team played, especially at this European Championship, was incredible. And it was weird, because at the very end, I've seen football. For all those years, I was watching male soccer always. So I'm used to the way people move. I'm used to the passes they do, the thinking, the technique, and the strategy. Now, you watch female soccer for the first time, and you're like, oh, they're slow. Like they're not physically as capable as the men. And I talked to like a lot of male friends of mine, and that was a bit of the opinion about it. It was like, yeah, that's interesting to watch here and there, but it's not halfway on the level as male football. And I gotta say, I thought so myself for years. And over the past years, I watched more and more female soccer, and I realized, yes, in certain ways, it's true. This is physically, it cannot compete to male soccer, because it's just a different physics. But it can be amazing in ways that I've never seen in male soccer. And especially this European Championship now, I've seen passes, I've seen way of like thinking in a certain, how do you say it, in a certain like
Formation or
formation, and not formation, but like a way that leads to a goal.
Oh, like a build up or
like a build up, exactly. That I've never seen in male soccer, because that is it's a different way of playing the game. And that was incredible to watch, and also to reflect on my own prejudices I had for all those years. And not saying like, oh no, I was like super wrong, and we're not physically not equal, but we have all strengths, and both are equally important.
Yes.
And therefore, and I feel like the German public is getting more and more aware of this. Now we just need to pay them properly. But I think it gets there. Like the more media coverage they get, and the more TV coverage they get, the more they get from TV money. But the pay gap in football, I don't know how it is in soccer. I don't know how it is in America, but in Germany, it's horrible.
Yeah. No, it's bad here too. Yeah. Across the board, I think it's lacking a lot. And that is part of it. People are saying, the eyes that how many people are tuning in. Well, we're seeing those numbers be huge. I mean, the Euros, like you were mentioning, had huge turnout. So hopefully we're all moving in the right direction there of giving them what they deserve.
It was for the film for the Julia Dorny film that we made. We had a reference, our main reference that we're using, and that was a spot from Commerzbank. But anyway, it was a good spot, and it was about the engagement of the Commerzbank in the for the German Football Association, for the DFB, and it was with the female German national team by the time. And in that spot, they claim, and that's actually true, that when they won their first championship, they got a tea set. No kidding.
Whoa.
Thank you, ladies. Well done. Get some tea.
Oh, wow.
So this is, and that's not too long ago.
Yeah.
15 years or so. It's
Oh,
super weird. That's what I mean. Like
yes.
we've got a long way, but but it comes out of such a deep hole.
Yeah.
It's still,
Yeah.
yeah.
A ways to go. You're right. You're right. Well, just two more questions for you. I feel like I could probably talk to you for hours about just all this and how it all relates. I just feel like there's so much. So thank you again for your time. I was curious. So you said you've played soccer and skateboarding for, 15, 16 years. Like looking back, do you feel like anything that you learned about yourself or about a team environment for soccer, at least, that you could say, oh, that really helped shape me into who I am today? Is there anything from sport that you feel you've learned that's really made an impact on your character or how you approach your role as a director even?
No, I wasn't a 10 in soccer, so I wasn't the director like doing everything. I was more like the left winger looking everything from the sideline. But I think that of course the team effort is a huge thing to know that. But then again, I think sports can help like it can help you to evolve something or to establish something that has been there before. So if you have a certain idea of the team play, then sports can help to shape that a lot. And so definitely football did. It did a lot for me for acceptance because the general mix of people is so diverse. Like usually you're in your school with your people and your bunch. You set school of like your education level or your surrounding, or weirdly back then, even ethnicity wise, we had so little foreigners on our school. It was embarrassing. I had more immigrants in my football team than on the whole school that I went to.
Wow.
And so that was an important thing to really connect and have joyful moments and share those with people outside of the bubble.
Yeah.
And it kind of that encouraged me or helped to to get outside of the bubble, because all the advertisement people I'm hanging around with or all the friends from back then from school, amazing, I love them, but it's different bubbles and they're within the bubble, we're all the same.
Yeah.
And I think sports is something that really encourages you to meet people from different backgrounds, and that's the biggest benefit I can see there.
Absolutely. I love that. And it's a common language, right? Like the sport of football or soccer is a common language that can unite people from all different backgrounds. And yeah, what a beautiful family you get to make, and like learning people's traditions or how their families operate and stuff like that. So, oh, I love that. That's so beautiful. Well, just tell folks what you've got coming up, any exciting projects that you have, and like where people can connect with you online, please.
Sure. Right now, I'm in the production of a short film that I wanted to shoot for 4 years.
Wow.
And yeah, I get to squeeze it in somewhere in between the commercial productions. But it's a story about the letting go after you hold your breath for a while. If you hold your breath for very long, and until you can't anymore, and then you breathe out, you have this quite like couple of seconds moment of everything will eventually be good, like kind of an untouchable peacefulness. it's not exciting or anything. It's just very calming, and you feel like for a moment you feel at ease.
Mm.
And I love that moment. And the short film is about multiple stories that portray that moment. They're, you know, interwebbed, connected to each other. And also I want to see if action works, or if like the film narrative or like a drama works if you start right after the action.
Mm.
So imagine a James Bond movie and you don't never see the chase. You just see how good it ended. Imagine
Yeah.
if that might be horribly boring. So let's figure it out. That's what I'm coming up with next. But as it is, probably takes ages to till it comes out.
Mm.
And yeah, connect with me on Instagram. My name in the bio and everything.
Yeah, yeah, we will put it in the show notes. And just thanks again for what you're doing and for your honesty here. And just, you know, I've loved our chat and just the authenticity that it shows in who you are, just in a conversation. So thank you again, and thank you for you know, bringing this story to life, which I'm hoping people can see, the You Are Strong short film. And just best of luck and what you're doing. And I look forward to, yeah, the release of your Breath film whenever that may come too. So
Yeah, thank you.
thanks again.
Thank you for having me. And as we talked before we recorded, that you saw the problem and you took the opportunity to start She Plays and to start this project. And it's a bit the same with like the Yuya that I portrayed. Like if you see that there is something not right and something's bothering you again and again and again, something's unequal where equality should be,
Mm.
and then it's so good to take action. It's good that you take action. Thanks for that.
Thank you.
And thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks so much. That means a lot. Thank you.